Hi guys. It's my bedtime, but I just got hit with this need to talk about a topic near and dear to my heart. And to stay productive, I'm going to try to finish up my water of the day. Because this topic it's personal and it's difficult to share, but I literally took like 4 melatonin gummies and I just read some of my book In Babylon by Marcel Moring. And I still had this gnawing feeling like I cannot go to sleep without talking about this. And what I want to talk about is this trend going on. I've seen it on TikTok. But maybe it's seeping into our subculture as well. And it's this concept of like the housewife, trad wife trend going on, where people, specifically women, are like romanticizing this idea. So there's two categories, right? Or you could say even three. There are the group of women that are sharing how they have these amazing male partners. So they're in a heterosexual relationship. So they have these amazing male partners who are providers and carers, and these men are apparently so great and they pay for everything and they support these women completely, and it's good for them, right? Like wonderful for them. The way they talk about it sounds like a great deal, right? And then there's the second group of women who might be single or might not have that kind of provider partner. And they see the first group and they're like, oh my God, like that's everything I ever wanted. Like that's so great. I love that. I'm manifesting it. And the third group is probably like people who just don't care or they don't believe in it and they're kind of jaded about the idea. Me, I want to say that I've experienced being in all three categories at different points in my life. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is to bring forth my personal experiences, to give you a perspective that might be more grounding in the reality of most women, right? Most working class women, I want to say. And let me have a sip of my water too. So, for context, at the recording of this video, I am freshly 26. I am single, so I'm not married and I'm not dating anyone. I'm not even talking to anyone. This is the most single I've ever been in my life. Which is so insane to say. I work full-time and I completely support myself. I'm talking pay my own rent, pay my own groceries. I just bought myself a car, paid everything for that, pay for my own clothes. I take myself out. I pay for my own entertainment. You name it, I pay for it. Everything that has to do with me and supporting myself and my beingness, I pay for. Which I'm very, very grateful that I can do. It's a very, very, very privileged position to be in. Now, someone in my shoes, right? You'd think to yourself, okay, so there's this young working professional woman and she is, I want to say I do classify as conventionally attractive. I know that I'm considered attractive in the US. I've traveled to Turkey, and I was considered attractive there as well. And I'm young, right? So one might think to themselves, okay, so there's this young, attractive woman, and she's working and she's having to pay all of this stuff to support herself. But she is in a position where she might want to lean into the whole, having a male provide for you world. And you wouldn't be wrong, right? If this ideal man who just wants to love me and protect me and provide for me does exist, then of course, like, that would be a jackpot. But here's the deal. I am hesitant to just throw away my independence and everything I've built for myself to completely lean into that narrative. Because think about it. So in my entire family lineage, I'm talking since the beginning of time, I am the first woman to live alone, to completely provide for myself, to be unmarried and childless into my later 20s. I'm the first one since forever, right? So I have been raised by a grandmother, 3 aunts, and a mom, and an entire community, right? Where the standard, the norm, you would think like God himself meant it to be this way based off of how normalized it is, how I was raised, where I come from, that literally men are providers. Now, in modern day and then in historical times, my grandma maybe had to work here and there. My aunts maybe had to work here and there. My mom is currently working. Some of my aunts are working. Like, it's definitely an exception, the fact that they got to work. But that's only because of like severe poverty and like economic difficult times, right? That the women then would pick up and like work as well to help provide for the household. However, the cultural norm, the tradition is that women, growing up as a girl, you're taught how to cook and clean and take care of babies and serve men, right? It's definitely a very patriarchal system. But the expectation and what was always on the table for me was to find a man and marry him, and he will provide for all my needs. Now, you might think to yourself, okay, so if this trend that people are dying over was literally this girl's like paved path, why did she steer in the complete opposite direction, right? If she had the chance to live out something that people are now glamorizing, what could have happened to make her choose a completely different way of life, where she now has to work and undergo, I don't want to say stress because I can handle it, but like, why would she want to take on the added challenge of having to provide for herself? I'll explain to you after this sip. Now, here's the thing. I don't know about you, but my life experience has showed me that nothing in life is free. Literally, nothing in life is free, right? So when you think about it, a man, right? Generally, male psychology is geared toward acquisition, conquering, winning, possessing, right? Like if you think about it, like the way a dog would bark when a stranger comes over because it's protecting its home, it's protecting its family, or how they would like pee to like mark their territory. That's kind of like how men are wired to be by and large, right? So, with the idea that a man will completely provide for you, like he'll work 1, 2, 3, however many jobs, so you can stay at home, right? He'll pay for rent, he'll pay for food, da 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 da, right? A man will never do anything like that without expecting anything in return. So, maybe in my culture, it's the extreme end of the spectrum, but what I witnessed growing up in dynamics where women married these kinds of men is here's what you have to pay in return. You were expected to submit to him as your husband, right? And people might say like, oh, but that's out of context. It's a religious requirement, da 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 da. No, I'm talking about like what I literally saw in my household of origin was like, for example, my uncle, he had the power to do a lot of terrible things to me, to my aunt, the things he would say to my grandma, his mom, and he would get away with it because he's the man and he's seen as the provider. Let alone the fact that I worked, his wife worked, his daughter now works, and my grandmother was receiving a pension. But I would see him literally like do all kinds of terrible things and completely get away with it because of the privilege that comes with this system, right? Mind you, he was not even the sole provider, right? So I can't even imagine what happens in households where the women don't have access to any income aside from the man. To go into a little bit more detail, not too much, the kind of tradition, the kind of family system that I experienced was the kind where, because I was a girl, and just because I was a girl, I was expected to go to school full time and work to make my own money, to buy myself stuff, and be responsible for the cleanliness of the house, making sure the dishes were always washed, always vacuuming, sweeping, mopping, dusting, also cooking homemade meals multiple times a day, every single day, while taking care or helping take care of babies in the house, my cousins. And if a male figure in the household, so either of my uncles or grandpa or even like a cousin or guest would come over, I would be expected to drop anything I was doing. So forget if I was doing homework or studying or practicing piano or painting or whatever, or just chilling in my room. I was expected to drop everything. I was hollered over to the kitchen or living room or whatever, and just straight up start to like set the table for them, make tea for them, heat up some food and set it up right in front of them with all the utensils and everything already like set up for them. And then when they were, I was then expected to just stand there and wait for them to finish. And then when they were done, I was expected to go and pick up all the finished food, throw them in the trash, wash the dishes, put back the food that wasn't eaten in the fridge. And that was repeated multiple times a day, every single day, for the 22 years that I lived with them. So to me, what that sounds like is being an on-call waitress, except I never got tipped nor paid for that, ever. And no one ever said thank you. It was the expectation. It was like how you expect to be able to breathe or that your heart is gonna beat. That was how I was treated with my acts of service. Right? So that's just like one example. Another example is how in that type of system, physical and emotional and verbal abuse and spiritual abuse is definitely also normalized, and you're never supposed to talk about it, right? So it was so normalized. Like I would get hit or called names or belittled, or I would see someone else in the household get hit or called names or belittled. And if I dare say anything, I would get abused more. I would get hit more for disobedience, insubordination. That's a vocab word for you. If I tried to talk about it, I was gaslit. I was told that I'm the problem. I was told that there's nothing wrong. So that would happen. I also witnessed how that type of system, hold on, let me drink some more water. So in that type of system, I also witnessed how women's talents, goals, aspirations were very quickly squandered. So for example, like my aunt, right, my uncle's wife, she married pretty young, 17 years old. And I bring her up because she essentially raised me since I was like 8 years old. And so she's the only, and she was 17. So she's the only woman that I got to experience, like seeing her and the way her life unfolded from when she was very young, right, teenager, and now she's 8 years older, so she's 34 now. Wow. Insane. Anyways, so I got to see firsthand, like, when she first married, she was so vibrant, so full of life, social butterfly, so much fun, very strong-willed, strong-minded, determined, hardworking. She loved to sew. Like she would sew curtains, she would sew herself outfits, she would sew me outfits, she would make these beautiful dresses. She started her own cake business. She would like decorate beautiful, beautiful cakes with original recipes. They were delicious. Um, she loved to draw. She loved to design like beautiful dresses. She was really good at math. Um, yeah, very, 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 very brilliant, brilliant woman. Very talented, very hardworking, very hardworking. I remember she used to stay up like so late at night just working on her cakes, on her dresses, on her projects. She was always like decorating the house, decorating her bedroom. Um, Very inspiring person. But because she got married very young to my douchebag uncle, this fucking asshole, and if he dies, I'm gonna fucking shit on his grave and I'm gonna dance on it because he deserves that. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. Did I say that he's a douchebag? Anyways, um, I want to throw a fucking party when he dies. It's gonna be so great. But anyways, she married him at 17, and seeing their relationship is was the most traumatizing thing in my life. I've gone through a lot of trauma, but seeing them too, and especially the way he treated her, was what solidified in me that I have to choose a different path. Like, it's no joke. I'm pretty sure they had like the worst relationship I've ever seen in my life. But anyways, um, so uh, she was 17, he was 21, and he convinced her to get pregnant because, like, right after getting married, because he was trying to tell her like he's scared that she's infertile or some shit. So she got pregnant and then dropped out of high school. And I tried to help her get her GED like 2 different times. And both times he sabotaged it. She had to beg for years and years and years to be able to get a license. Eventually, she ended up having to work at a cafe um, and pay for her own driving lessons, and she did. And she passed the test and she got her own license. And even if she needs to work like 16-hour shifts, she would still rather do that than not make any money. She also made money through sewing and making cakes and stuff. But her biggest dream was to be a designer. And instead, she ended up, obviously, the children she brought into this world are beautiful, beautiful kids. I love them so much, but I was there to see who she was when she was a 17-year-old girl, all the dreams she had. I saw every single day how hard she worked. I mean, I have never seen anybody work harder than her. And then I ultimately saw what her life had turned into because of this man. But it's not just the man, it's the man plus, his parents who always gaslit her and silenced her at all costs. It's the community, it's the traditions, it's every single thing. I think I was the only person that vocally stood up for her, that told her to leave multiple times over the years, that did something to try to help her create a better life. But I was called the problem, I was called the issue, not the abuse. right? That's neither here nor there. You can't save everyone. But yeah. So you can imagine, after having, like, literally the culture I come from is the epitome of male provider dynamic. It's the epitome of trad wife. It's literally what was paved for me. It's what every woman before me had done. But maybe my experience, I don't think my experience and the way I was raised is so unique. I think that, no, I know that I had seen traces of how it could be toxic in different families as well, except in my culture, people don't really talk about the abuse they experience. People don't really share it on social media like I am. Maybe sometimes they do, but more or less it's very hush hush, you know? So because I'm very perceptive, I would see things and then be able to understand on a deeper level what it means. But yeah. So um this is why I chose to endure everything that comes with being educated and financially independent, and also emotionally and mentally independent, and, you know, support myself. When I cry alone. When I celebrate alone. When I wake up every day and take myself to the gym and then take myself to work, I do it alone. When I go and I buy a car, I pay for it alone. When I have to pay for my rent, I pay my rent. When I have to go and buy groceries, I go buy groceries, you know? When I have to go to the hospital, I take myself to the hospital. I I would rather the life that I have built. I would prefer the life I built. I would choose the life I built every single day rather than live out the nightmare that I experienced for 22 years straight every single day. I would prefer the life I built rather than the nightmare that I know that the women in my family are still experiencing to this day. And if for me it was 22 years, for them it's 34 years, for them it's 45. My grandma has been living this system since she was born, and she was born in 1958, so what, like 75, what, she's like 72? Don't make me do math. 72, 73, I don't know, whatever. 60 something, I don't fucking know. She was born in 1958, you can do the math. But I'm not laughing because it's funny, I'm laughing because what else can you do? You know? Anyways, I hope that this video provided you with some valuable context and perspective on this whole topic. If you genuinely do want to become a housewife, then that's your prerogative. Please, like, if you find the right person and they offer you something like that, that's wonderful. Just please, 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 please make sure that you have something of your own. Make sure that you are anchored in your own power. You have something of your own as a woman that if anything happens in life, you never know, you know, then you're gonna be fine because you deserve that. Anyways, I'm gonna go to bed now. Have a good night. Bye.